Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we are doing a top 5 video for you. This time we're looking at cards that will eventually get banned in Yu-Gi-Oh! I've got 5 of them here. I also want to know in the comment section anything you guys can add to the list. Keep in mind this is supposed to be stuff that like eventually will be banned, so nothing that's really even up for a potential ban on the current ban list or even down the line a little bit. So like forget adventure stuff, forget Splight. I mean, I guess you could say Splight stuff. Because that'd be pretty far. Like it could be far enough down the line. But I've got some really good ones here on cards that you just read and you're like, wow, this card is going to be banned at some point. It just has to. And so, yeah, I got 5 of them here. I want to know your thoughts. Let me know down below, and let's get into this thing. Starting off with number 5, I've got Naturia Beast. I know this one is... like, we know this card's crazy. I also thought about putting, like, Secret Village of the Spellcasters on here. I thought they both kind of go hand in hand. But this one's just a little more accessible, being in the extra deck. And also, like, as far as, like, deck design, Konami kind of has to shy away from making any Earth Synchro-based decks while a card like Nat Beast is around. This card is such a house, locking you out of, realistically, we say 1/3 of the game. This is probably more like 40 to 45% of the game, 55 to 60% of the game for spells and a very small portion for traps. So almost half the game is pretty much being locked out with this card, not once per turn, and the cost is almost like a bonus, letting you mill, which we know in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Can actually just get you free resources. Anyway, it's a decent enough attack stat where it's kind of hard to clear over without a spell effect. It's a house of a card, especially when you pair it up with other negations, particularly monster negations as well. And I just think pretty generic, accessible, like essentially floodgate type monsters are just too much. Absolutely too much. So I think Nat Beast eventually will end up on the ban list. That's my number 5. Moving on to number 4, we have Resonance Insect. And a lot of people may not like to see this. I don't like to see this either. I don't want Resonance Insect to ever get banned. I like the bug deck. I like Bee Trooper, but let's be realistic, guys. This card is not a hard once per turn, and there are Bee Trooper decks that literally just go +3 off of this card in turn 1, off of just one copy, but at least it'd be less accessible. Still be accessible, but less accessible if it was at 1 or something. I don't think they'd ban it completely, but maybe put it to 1 at some point. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those cards where, like, if Konami wants to give more Bee Trooper support down the line, or just any generically applicable insect support at any point, that's an entire type, like, they kind of have to be super careful with Resonance Insect because this card exists. So I think because of that, we could see a point down the line where Resonance Insect gets put to 1 just because it's insane. I mean, let's not go crazy here. This card's fucking insane. So Resonance Insect, number 4 for me, definitely will probably go to on the ban list at some point down the line, just not yet. Number 3, I've actually been looking at this deck a little bit, but that's like the Atlantean Mermail deck. It's an interesting deck. Moonland Glacier is by far and away the most degenerate part of the deck. There's a couple of other really scary things. Dragoon is crazy. Dragoons are crazy. It coming back to 3 seems good for where we are right now. But again, this is a deck that plays Aquas, Sea Serpents, and Fish. So Konami needs to be careful of how good the support is and how generically splashable in a deck like this, because this deck has like insanely accessible combos with stuff like Moonland Glacier. The problem is not that we're hand ripping 6. The problem is that we're hand ripping 2, and then we're going to set up probably like 3 to 4 interruptions. So beat 3 to 4 interruptions with 3 to 4 cards. Good luck. And that's just too strong. Moonland Glacier is absolutely insane, absolutely degenerate card. I think it'll be banned at some point. I do want to mess around with it before it does, but it just hand rips too. I mean, what else is there to say? We know how crazy hand ripping is. 2 years ago, we saw the Smoke Grenade of the Thief get banned because of hand rips, and this is no different. Next up here, number 2, we've got Hyratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres. This card's really interesting because, like, do they ban this card? I think there's a good chance this card could get banned down the line, but I also think it's entirely possible that this card goes to 1. Just like Dragon control decks being able to use this card as like a failsafe, it's just like so crazy. And even combo decks too. We've seen this with Dragon Link. One of the reasons Dragon Link has held success through multiple formats is because you interrupt their first play. Okay, they pivot into another combo line. You hand trap them again and interrupt that line. Then you know what they do? They just make Hyratic Seal. They're going to have one powerful interruption with follow-up, and even that could potentially be more interruption. We're seeing there's a new dragon card in Power of the Elements that literally says when it's special summoned, target 2 cards on the field and destroy them. So just having spheres and that card in your main deck means you can just go, bounce a card non-targeting and then pop 2 cards. That's insane, and all you have to do is make Hyratic Seal. Absolutely powerful card. I think just the ease of access, and also the fact that, like, it really depends. We talked about Resonance Insect and the fact that, but Insect is like an underdeveloped type in Yu-Gi-Oh! Dragon is one of like the 3 most developed types in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like them, Warriors, and then, some other spellcasters, machines are definitely up there, right? Fiends, you could argue. Like, it's one of the 5 most developed types in the game. They love making new dragon cards anytime they can. And so, if they want to keep making new dragon archetypes, this card will always be super abusable in any of those. And so, because of that, I could easily see this card getting banned, or at least getting put to 1, so that you can't just play like a crazy control game, just going into this card every turn until you eventually run away with advantage. So, because of those reasons, Hyratic Seal is number 2 for me, which takes us to our final card here on our top 5 cards that will eventually get banned in Yu-Gi-Oh! I sold 2 Tales of the Noble Knights. This one is super obvious. If you've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For the last 5 years, you know about this card. You know what it does. It's insane. It's been abused in multiple insane decks in the format. We've seen Dark Warrior be Tier 1. We've seen Goki be Tier 1. We've seen Infernoble Knights be Tier 1. This deck has been the main abuser of multiple Tier 1 decks over the last couple of years, and some of them, actually most of them, super degenerate. Goki, hand-ripping you with Gumblar. Now, you could argue Gumblar was a problem. It absolutely was. Card's being now, but this card is not without any blame, for sure. Same thing with Infernoble. Hand-ripping you for 2 or 3, and then setting up 3 to 4 interruptions. Like, that deck was insane as well when it was at full power. And Isold was everything for that deck. Now, that's an in-archetype card, essentially, because Infernoble Knights are technically Noble Knights by name, so at least they're in archetype, but still, this card is insane. It gets you Foolish Burials for equips as Yu-Gi-Oh! Goes on. I can only assume we'll see more and more power creep for equips in general. And if that happens, then this card and stuff like the Power Tool type cards, they only become more and more insane. And we definitely have to keep an eye out for them. So, yeah, I mean, summons from deck, doesn't negate the card you summon, adds another card for free, dumps equips, which in a deck like Infernoble's being able to add them back, and having a card like Phoenix Blade be a card in existence, so you just get free advantage off of this. Like, the advantage this card generates is absolutely insane. Usually making this is more than combo, and this card's just crazy, all in all. So, I sold absolutely number 1. I think out of these 5, I think this one has the best chance by far. And again, same thing with the Hyratic Seal. Warrior is the number 1 most developed type in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! There are more Warrior cards than I think any other type in Yu-Gi-Oh! And because of that, we know Konami, they want to make cool Warrior cards. They want to make cool new Warrior archetypes. They're going to want to make new meta Warrior decks down the line. If Isold is around, they have to be very careful, or they need to ban it so that these decks just can't abuse this card to Kingdom Come. But yeah, Isold, definitely number 1 for me. But there you go. There's my list. Top 5. Pretty quick here. Nothing too crazy. Trying out a top 5 video instead of top 10 because the top 10s tend to be way too long for what I'm going for. And I have trouble trimming the fat and saying less on certain things because I want to get my point across. But yeah, these are my top 5. Let me know in the comment section down below what cards you have on your list that you think 100% will eventually be banned, whether it's a specific archetypes card, whether it's a card that's more generic. As obviously I have more generic type stuff here: earth-based, insect-based, water-based, dragon-based, warrior-based, right? These are more generic. They're generic to types, not all of Yu-Gi-Oh!, but you see what I'm saying. So if you want to do something that's particular in an archetype that you think one day an archetype will come up and that card will be the card to be banned, let me know that. Let me know certain, I guess, floodgates, but more so like easily accessible floodgates because, it really depends. Floodgates are a weird case when it comes to the ban list. But yeah, definitely want to hear your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, let me know in the comments section your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.